What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be doing one of our favorite breakdowns of the year, and that is the perfect mock draft. So what that means is essentially we're going to be making every single pick in a 12-team league for every single team throughout the first 8 rounds, therefore creating the perfect draft. Now, as far as the roster is concerned, it'll contain 1 quarterback, 2 RBs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 1 bench spot. Should be plenty of guys to kind of build out the core of our roster so we can give these teams an appropriate grade. And hopefully you guys get something out of this, enjoy. And if you do, hit that like button, subscribe. Let us hear it in the comment section. Who is your favorite team? And also, if you have any other questions, this is the place to ask them. We will make sure to answer them all. And lastly, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. And while you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you can want at a great value. Details in the description. But with that being said, let's kick this thing off. You can see we've got our big board here, and we're going to start the breakdown immediately. Just a quick note, again, this is based on full PPR scoring, so keep that in mind as we go. Now, the first 3 picks here, pretty standard. Look, you're going to be going running back heavy in the first round. The first 3 picks are pretty much slam dunk. You got Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and then Dalvin Cook. I do have Alvin Kamara above Dalvin Cook in full PPR scoring. I like the upside with Jameis Winston as the quarterback. I've said before, if Winston is the quarterback for the entire season, I would not be shocked if Alvin Kamara is the #1 running back in fantasy football. I'd have him right there with Christian McCaffrey. But either way, Dalvin Cook also a great choice. That's the way Team 3 goes. But, Team 4 is where it really starts to get interesting. Austin Eckler, I've been beating the drum for him here and really just putting my money where my mouth is because I have him as a top 5 running back in full PPR scoring. I think it's him, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, the only 3 guys that have a realistic chance of a 1,000 season rushing and receiving. Extremely, extremely valuable. I love Austin Eckler there. So that's the 104. Then the next couple of picks, again, I would say pretty standard. You see Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones. I've got Ezekiel Elliott a little bit above Derrick Henry in full PPR scoring. I like the floor. I like the upside as well. When you take into account Ezekiel Elliott will probably have 3 times as many catches and yards than Derrick Henry will have on the season. And then he's still got a decent upside for rushing yards, like probably 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 rushing yards, something like that. You combine that with like 400, 500 receiving yards, and you see why Ezekiel Elliott is still probably a top 5 running back. Then Derrick Henry, again, huge rushing upside. So you got to like that. Huge rushing touchdown upside as well. I mean, for God's sakes, he's coming off a 2,000-yard season. So I still do believe he is a guy, even though this is full PPR scoring, that belongs like in the first half of the draft. Afterwards, Aaron Jones, a little bit more up and down, but compared to these next couple of running backs who are Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb, I do believe that Aaron Jones has, again, more of that blend of PPR usage similar to like a Zeke versus a Derrick Henry. There might be some inconsistencies with Aaron Jones, couple games where he might get like 10 points, something like that, but he's got that upside of a 40-plus point game multiple times throughout the year on a great offense with Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Jones, last 2 years, top 5 running back. I think he'll be right around that range again this year. Then afterwards, we mentioned it, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb. I think very similar running backs, more standard suited. I just like the upside more so for Jonathan Taylor since Kareem Hunt is still there for Nick Chubb, and I think he's going to vulture more opportunities compared to like a Naheem Hines and a Marlon Mack for Taylor. Then we get to Team 10 and 11. This is where we see our first wide receivers, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. The logic being is that, you're not going to have to wait all that long in the second round until you're making that next selection. So you're taking a chance that you're going to be able to get, probably a top 12 running back on your team. So right now, why not get a tier 1 wide receiver as well? And that's exactly what we do here. We've got these wide receivers ranked the way they are, Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, all in the top 3, the tier 1 list. You can rank them however you want. I think comes down to personal preference, personal opinion. It's splitting hairs. I think they're all elite options. Then Team 12, you've got Saquon Barkley as an option. He is a, boom or bust guy to some extent, a little bit risky, but towards the end of the first round, as long as you pair him up with a safe option, which I think is exactly what Antonio Gibson is, then I think that's the way you approach the Saquon Barkley situation. So I think that's as good of a start as you could want. And you got to go to running backs if you're this team, because you know you're not going to get a chance in the third round for just like a really solid running back. So you see there, I like that start with Barkley and Gibson. And then afterwards, team 11, team 10, go back into the running back pool because, they went wide receivers first. So Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, going for some upside with Joe Mixon. Didn't necessarily want to stack up Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire there, so give the edge to Mixon, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then we see another run on wide receivers. Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley. I've got Diggs in the tier 1 category for wide receivers, but Calvin Ridley isn't all that far behind. Like in half-point PPR, especially in standard, I think Ridley should be right there with Tyreek Hill. I love his upside on that Atlanta offense. Definitely a wide receiver 1 for the year. And then here are the next couple of picks. You see another run on running backs. James Robinson, Chris Carson, Najee Harris. I like the upside for James Robinson. To me, obviously without Travis Etienne, it all comes down to how Urban Meyer will use him. If it's similar to last year, I mean, James Robinson, top 10 running back. So I really like the value here. I really like pairing him up with Aaron Jones. Then Chris Carson with Derrick Henry. Again, a nice little combination, all things considered. I like this running back tandem. I think Chris Carson is undervalued every single year. I've said it before. I'd be all right taking him in the second round, especially in a bigger league like this is, 12 teams. So I like that combination. And then Najee Harris. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Najee Harris, I think you get to a point where there's a cutoff in tiers. And like this is right around that point. Like the top 15 running backs, I think Najee Harris is right around there. And then you've got some major question marks for the other guys. Not that you don't for Najee Harris, but he will get the volume, so it'll counteract the shoddy offensive line to some extent. You're going for upside here. You've already got Ezekiel Elliott, so you can kind of take on risk. Then team 4 had gotten Austin Eckler, so dips into the wide receiver pool here because, again, you're gonna see this trend. Running backs have kind of the value been used up here. So now this is where the value for the pass catchers kind of catches up. Hopkins, Travis Kelce with the next pick, really, really good value because that, look, a top-end wide receiver 1 will still make it back to you in the third round. Don't have to wait that long. So why not get a wide receiver at the tight end spot in the meantime? Then the last 2 picks in the second round, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and then both these teams again double up on running backs, or on wide receivers, I should say. The idea being you've got guys like Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara that can be the bell cows for your team. They're upper echelon running backs. And you can kind of go with a hero approach that they'll carry your squad, and then you'll find running backs in the later rounds. So kind of go that approach and see how it works out. Then team 3 adds DK Metcalf to that Travis Kelce pick, so I really like that start. Again, another guy, wide receiver 1 upside. Maybe he's got some question marks, but also some really nice upside. Team 4 then gets a second wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. Team 5 dips into the tight end pool as well because you have that, again, in my opinion, break in tiers for the wide receivers this time, but Darren Waller, similar to a Travis Kelce, gets you a wide receiver 1 at the tight end spot. And then wide receivers here, some guys that I think are safe options. Robert Woods, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper, the next 3 picks. The teams already had gone running back heavy, so getting a wide receiver, very, very important. Then for team 8, already had Jonathan Taylor and Calvin Ridley. This was a point where it potentially could go somebody like a Montgomery, somebody like a Swift, Myles Gaskin, but, kind of took a gamble with this and said, all right, Amari Cooper, let's see what happens in the 4th round. Probably will have somebody like a Mike Davis or Gus Edwards available, and that did happen afterwards. Then team 9 needed to add a second running back here, getting David Montgomery. I don't think Montgomery will be as great as he was last season, just too many things, a shoddy offensive line, potential quarterback instability, but I'm not too worried about that factor. More so, again, about guys like Damian Williams being there, a much tougher run defensive schedule, Matt Nagy taking over play calling duties. So yes, there's question marks, but I think Montgomery here is a decent value pick considering how we value the running back position as a whole. Then you see DeAndre Swift as a pick here. In full PPR scoring, I really like Swift, but he's still a risky selection. But considering the upside of him and that we can back him up with another running back later on, I thought that to some extent this pick was worth it. Then you see afterwards a run on wide receivers again, Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, towards the end of the 3rd round because, again, for Team 11, yes, they only have one running back, but the wait isn't all that long afterwards. Only got to wait 2 more picks. You'll be able to get another running back afterwards. So I like the approach there. Then Team 12 doubles down on wide receivers now. After going Barkley and Gibson, you had Deontay Johnson and Julio Jones. I like the upside for Deontay. A lot of people think he can be a wide receiver 1 on the year, a top 12 guy. And then Julio Jones, I think, just being very disrespected. So very happy to get him here. Then Myles Gaskin. George Kittle, very good value in the 4th round, I would say. Following that up, we've got Tyler Lockett, another wide receiver that should be, I think, very successful. Yes, inconsistencies offensively, but you could say that for DK Metcalf as well. And considering, right now, just with how deep the wide receiver pool is, you can get them around later. I like that fit. Then Team 8, you already had 2 wide receivers. The gamble pays off. Jonathan Taylor, you add Darrell Henderson. Yes, Sony Michel is there now, but I still think Darrell Henderson will be involved as like a mid to low end RB2, so I'm not too upset about that. Then Chris Godwin goes. I think he's, out of all the wide receivers in Tampa Bay, he's the one you target as far as PPR upside. He has the highest of it, even though I think they're all like wide receiver 2s. Chris Godwin is the guy that in full PPR scoring I'd prefer, then Antonio Brown, then probably Mike Evans. TJ Hockenson then goes with the 7th pick in the 4th round. Didn't want to, maybe reach on one of these wide receivers. Knew that Hockenson, because of how much we value him, wasn't going to get back to the 5th round. So just take him here immediately. Then goes Mike Evans. So I said I'd rather, go with an Antonio Brown over a Mike Evans in full PPR. But this team didn't have a wide receiver yet. And with that being the case, you go for upside. And I would say the upside for Mike Evans is higher than an Antonio Brown. So that's why the logic here is Mike Evans. Then you see Mike Davis, Gus Edwards, some really, really good value picks for these teams that had waited on a second running back, Team 4 and Team 3. I really like that. And then Team 2 and Team 1, the next 2 picks respectively, just go quarterback and tight end. I think this is the point where a quarterback, just the value is really too good to pass up. And you see it here. This is how I value the quarterback position, probably until the 5th round. But to be fair, all 4 tier 1 quarterbacks go one right after the other because, I think that that's kind of the way they should be viewed. They're all in that tier 1 category. And they're not going to make it that much further down the board. Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews were the last kind of 2 tight ends in that tier 2 category. So also getting them there because they're not going to make it past all these other teams all the way back to you in the 6th round. Then, like I said, the run-on quarterbacks, Mahomes, Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, that's kind of how I have these guys ranked. Afterwards, you see DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, T. Higgins, just the next best available wide receivers, in my opinion. Then this team that had gotten Darrell Henderson previously kind of gets a backup option in Kareem Hunt. I like the upside in PPR scoring. So, adding some security to Darrell Henderson if he struggles. Then the next couple of picks, wide receiver based. Brendan Ayuk, Chase Claypool, Antonio Brown. So you see how I value Antonio Brown. It's not just me, just talking without meaning what I'm saying here. I really do value Antonio Brown. He would have been an earlier round pick, if, taking some other things into consideration, like not doubling up on too many guys from the Tampa Bay Bucks offense, or just, if the fit was there for a team that might have needed a running back versus a wide receiver. Either way, though, Antonio Brown shouldn't be going like 3-4 rounds later than Godwin and Mike Evans like he is in your drafts, the majority of drafts. I think worst case scenario, like you see here, just like a round later. And then Team 12 goes with 2 running backs here again. So already got 2 wide receivers, get a flex, and get a depth option. Miles Sanders, kind of gotten to the point where as much as you have question marks and you don't want anything to do with them, like it's a good value pick. At the end of the 5th round, Miles Sanders, okay, then you back him up with Damian Harris. So makes me feel a little bit better about that situation. And again, just getting more and more running backs. When you got Saquon Barkley, you kind of got to do that. Afterwards, there follows Josh Jacobs, like in the 6th round, similar with Miles Sanders. The value too good to pass up. And then some more running backs off the board. Raheem Mostert, Ronald Jones. Dak Prescott afterwards goes kind of that next best quarterback in the 6th round. I like the value there. Then this team, team 7 adds Chase Edmonds. Already had Aaron Jones, James Robinson, so getting another like PPR running back to add to the list. So I like that there. Then Brendan Cooks, Jerry Jeudy. Cooks could be a good value piece depending on what happens with the Texans. But again, that's just a little bit up in the air. Then you see Javonte Williams, a guy that could pan out. You've already got Eckler and Mike Davis. Hopefully that's all right. Going for some upside that you don't need right away. And Javonte Williams, the logic there. Then Cortland Sutton. And then finally getting back to Team 2 and Team 1. You finally got to go running back. And you're going to do so with your next 2 picks, in fact, twice. Melvin Gordon, then Jamal Williams, Trey Sermon, and Nyheim Hines. With Nyheim Hines, full PPR scoring, T.Y. Hilton hurt. So I think he's going to be involved again in the passing attack. Afterwards, now you get to the point where you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks, some tight ends, because the idea, we do have to fill out these rosters. So normally, again, I do want to mention this, we wouldn't be taking these tight ends this early. This is more so for the 8th round when I'm talking about this, but for the sake of filling out the roster and kind of giving it a complete grade, that's why we did it here. But again, like Anthony Ferguson in the 8th round, that would never happen. But just finishing out the 7th round, you see her running quarterbacks as well with the same logic. Got to fill out the rosters. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. Then you add Marvin Jones, I think a guy that's going under the radar that could be the number 1 wide receiver for the Jags. Then Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts, kind of a boom or bust quarterback. But we've gotten to the point where afterwards, you got guys like Ryan Tannehill and Joe Burrow left. So kind of going for broke here with this team, just going for upside. Then Team 11 and Team 12, they got to get tight ends and quarterbacks here. Those are the last 2 things. So they get Logan Thomas, Dallas Goedert, Tannehill, and Joe Burrow, respectively. And then afterwards, Deebo Samuel as, a high upside guy, the cheapest option for the 49ers pass catchers right now. Then those tight ends, Noah Fant, Tunyon, Jared Cook. I've said before, I really like Jared Cook. I think he's going to be the Hunter Henry replacement in LA. That's valuable. That's like a top 10 tight end. Then David Johnson, James White. So David Johnson, we'll see if he makes the roster for the Texans, but if he does, I think he'll probably be the running back 1 for the team. And even though it won't be pretty, he'll probably be like a low-end RB2 on the season in PPR scoring. Then James White, adding him after the Sony Michel trade. He's going to be the pass-catching running back for the New England Patriots, so there's some value there, similar to like a Nyheim Hines type of guy. Then Anthony Ferguson, I explained the logic there. And then the last 3 picks, Kenyon Drake, Darnell Mooney, and then everybody's favorite sleeper, Marquez Callaway at the end of the 8th round. But with that, we kind of wrap up this round-by-round breakdown. Let's kind of look at it by roster now so you guys can get an idea and, tell me who you think has the best team here. Now, just looking at these combinations, a team that I think is pretty good. I think Team 11, Joe Burrow, Mixon, Myles Gaskin, the wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Logan Thomas, kind of iffy, but you've got a decent flex in Antonio Brown, and then you also got Josh Jacobs. So I like that there. Some other teams that I think are, pretty good. Team 3, Dalvin Cook, Gus Edwards, obviously without Dobbins. You got Metcalf, Sutton, Travis Kelce. That's a big advantage. Russell Gage, Lamar Jackson as well. But hey, no, you know what? Let me know your thoughts on the matter. Who do you think, again, had the best roster? Again, showing you guys the by-round breakdown as well. Whatever is more helpful for you to see. Let me hear it in the comment section along with any questions you guys might have. And hopefully this was useful, informative, you enjoyed it. And if so, hit that like button, subscribe. And lastly, again, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. While you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you want at a great value. Details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.